Dormady versus Guarantano. And the reason I bring this up is, of course, that's the narrative. That's the spotlight that any program receives when it's replacing a quarterback and there's a quarterback competition. And I've noticed this with other contributors that I have on covering the fan base and the reaction to some of the news and notes that leak out of camp and are reported out of camp. I want to get your take before you run us through some of the highlights that you've gathered thus far. The fan bases seem to be a little bit hypersensitive, a little overemphasis on any little shred of news that comes out of camp, specifically pertaining to the quarterback competition, again, with any program. So if a guy throws a touchdown, wow, that they just take and run that, and then probably doubly if a quarterback throws an interception or there's a report that he had a bad day, then the fan base swings in the complete opposite direction. So just anything that you've gathered in regards to fan reaction to the competition and any news that's been reported thus far.
The first thing is, unfortunately, Jarrett Guarantano he missed a couple of practices late this week. He had an unfortunate family issue he had to attend with back in New Jersey, so he missed a couple of practices, which obviously means that Quentin Dormady is going to get all of the first team reps without Guarantano there. But that's something he had to do. Obviously, family comes first in those situations. Jones and Scott, the offensive coordinator, have controlled the narrative on the quarterback battle pretty well. Not a lot of discussion about that in the fan base. Obviously, people are looking at it and watching it, but not a lot of a big drama there. They've controlled that narrative pretty well. Both are tremendous athletes, and I think both will be good quarterbacks if they play. Again, I think Quentin Dormady, and I've talked about this on with you before, Quentin Dormady, I think, just kind of looks the part of the starter right now. He kind of acts the part of the starter right now. One of the things I have noticed is that Tennessee's offense is practicing a little bit more under center, particularly in goal line situations. I think that probably plays in Dormady's favor. With Scott being the offensive coordinator, and we'll talk about Scott taking over a little bit more of the offensive responsibilities when we talk about the highlights of camp. But with Scott kind of taking the reins of the offense a little bit more, you'll see a little bit more under center action there, and I think that plays in Dormady's favor. If you still had the previous Tennessee coordinators that ran literally every play out of the shotgun formation, the read option formation, I think that might play into Guarantano's favor a little bit. But again, Dormady kind of looks like the starter. He's kind of acting like the starter. Both are tremendous athletes. I think Tennessee will be okay either way they go. But I think right now it's probably going to be Dormady getting the start against Georgia Tech. We might see Guarantano even against Georgia Tech, maybe a series or two, both halves, if they haven't really decided that at that point. And I certainly wouldn't be surprised to see Guarantano in the second week of the season against Indiana State.